Well, hi, Danielle. Thanks for joining me this morning. Can you just start off by telling us a little bit about where you work and what you do?
Sure. So I am a licensed independent clinical social worker, and I work for People Incorporated, which is a community-based mental health agency. I specifically work in a program and supervise targeted case managers. So those are folks who work with adults in the community living with serious and persistent mental illness and struggling with chemical dependency. I supervise that team as they go in and meet their clients in their home and help connect them to resources in the community.
Thank you. Do you like your work?
I love my work.
What do you like about it?
The case management specifically is a wonderful job to be able to work in the mental health field and get to see all different areas. No day is ever the same. We get to work with a variety of people and help them through some of the hardest things in their lives and help connect them to resources to remain independent. So no day is ever dull. You never really know what you're walking into, which keeps things really exciting.
Can you tell us a little bit about your background that led you up to your current role?
Sure. So I think I always knew I wanted to go into a helping profession, probably back to late elementary, maybe middle school. I remember wanting to maybe be a therapist or I think at the time a child psychologist. So when I went into my bachelor's program, I studied psychology and child psychology. And I'd sort of planned to maybe go the route of a therapist. I took a few years off in between working at an outpatient mental health clinic as an administrative assistant where I got to see different types of licensures, from social work to psychology to marriage and family therapy. And after kind of observing all of those different disciplines in the community, it just felt like social work was the best fit. With a social work degree, you can do therapy, you can work in community-based agencies, you can do advocacy, work in hospitals, schools. So it was really a degree that provided a really broad set of options for things to do in the community and work with mental health.
Oh, cool. So it sounds like then if someone was thinking about helping work, but wasn't really very clear which track to get into or which groove might suit them, a social work degree is a pretty good place to start. Would you agree with that?
I would, yeah. I think a bachelor's level social work degree, it gives you a really broad understanding of just sort of that social context and how a person functions in their environment. You get exposure to a lot of different, types of work and different things that you can do. Social work also offers, internships at both the master's and bachelor's level. So you kind of get some real experience in different settings and in different parts of the field to really see what's a good fit for you.
Was that helpful for you, those internships and those different types of experiences?
Yes, absolutely. I was really lucky. I got to do school social work, which was really fun. So I got to kind of see what that world looked like for my first internship. And then in a second internship, I actually got to do therapy, which was great because that was sort of the path that I thought I wanted. So it was nice to be able to experience that before just jumping right into doing that full time.
How long does the educational path take typically?
Yep. So for a bachelor's, it's the typical 4 years. To get to the LICSW level, which is a licensed independent clinical social worker, you need to do a 2-year master program in social work. As part of that program, you take your classes and you'll do 2 internships. And then following your master's program, it takes 2 years to get fully clinically licensed. So you need to work in a job in the field being supervised by an LICSW. And then once you complete those 2 years of supervision, then you can test for your own independent license.
Do many people do a different bachelor's and then switch in at that graduate study level?
I think so. I think you can. I think in my program, I remember people coming from all over. We had folks that had originally thought they were going to be pre-med, and then as they started down that path, realized that they wanted to go more into the helping field. Many people do a bachelor's in social work and then go right on to get their master's, but we had quite a variety in our program.
Okay. Okay. Let's talk a bit about your job role a bit more. So you gave us an overview of the case management. What would you say is the objective of that role?
Sure. So the objective of a case manager is essentially to support people in living in the community and trying to maintain their independence. The main kind of service components of case management is to help assess needs and help folks come up with goals or a goal plan and try to reach those goals and stay in the community.
So there are people who would be particularly vulnerable without that support.
Correct. Yep.
And without that support, what might happen with them, do you think?
Most of the clients that we work with are living in poverty. So a lot of what we do is help connect them to different financial resources, different sources for food, help them maintain housing. To qualify for targeted case management, you need to have a diagnosis of a mental illness. And so usually it's folks that have been struggling with long-term mental illness that isn't really expected to resolve itself. So a lot of our role is just helping them stay connected to their mental health services, whether that be a therapist, a psychiatrist, finding different outpatient treatment programs.
And stay connected in their community rather than be institutionalized somewhere, which potentially that could have happened maybe in years gone by.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So and so I think you said that you supervise case managers. How do they spend their day?
Sure. So
I've always wanted to know this.
Yes. So no day in case management is the same. Typically in targeted case management, a case manager will have a caseload of anywhere from 20 to 30 clients, and it's a monthly service. So they see their clients in the community once a month. So whether that be in their homes, or some clients prefer to meet at like a library or county building. So most case managers will have 1 or 2 client meetings set each day. And that takes up, probably a third of their day between drive time and doing the meetings. And in between meetings, they spend a lot of time just looking for resources, helping submit referrals for different services or different programs that we found. There's a lot of documentation that goes along with it. So just, writing up your notes, doing certain assessments, updating goal plans. And then there are days where you will deal with crises that come up. So you may have a day planned where you're going to go out and see 2 clients, but you get a call that another one of your clients is having a hard time and experiencing a crisis. And so you may have to cancel what you had planned for the day to go and assist the client that needs you that day.
Sometimes you're a little bit of a crisis worker.
Absolutely. Yeah. It is a really nice balance of it's about half client contact and then half administrative. So you sort of get that balance of being out in the community, working directly with people, and then you get half the time of that downtime of doing paperwork and looking for resources.
What do case managers say that they like about their work?
I think the thing that I hear the most is the flexibility and the variety. So case management is a pretty flexible job. It's very independent. Each case manager is responsible for managing their caseload, setting up their meetings, keeping on top of their paperwork. And so people can kind of do that in the way that works best for them. And I think a lot of people like that. It allows you to sort of work in a way that fits best with your skills and your strengths. I think another thing they really like, we tend to have a lot of really, like-minded people. Everyone's there because they want to help. So we have a really nice team feel. Like you're usually a part of a team that will have your back and that you can always turn to for help or support or to help you look for resources.
Yeah. And so I was wondering what burns case managers out?
Usually the system, honestly.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it can be really challenging. Like I mentioned, we're working with folks with serious and persistent mental illness. So typically those diagnoses that are long lasting. And most of our folks do live in poverty. And so there aren't always resources to meet all of their needs. And that can be really frustrating.
Yeah.
programs change, requirements change, eligibility changes. And so as resources dwindle, it can be harder to connect your clients with those things. And I think that's what ends up burning people out more so than the direct work with the clients.
Okay. And it's not treatment per se, although you could have a client doing treatment, right? Because I think you said that it's long term. There isn't a big expectation of very significant psychiatric rehabilitation. It's to do with stability, keeping people connected in their community.
Yep.
So is that a factor in, for want of a better term, burnout?
I think it can be. I think a lot of it is the case manager's perspective. I think in this role, if you know that we need to celebrate the small victories, because our clients do make strides and they do take great steps. People get jobs and they find housing and they're able to stay out of the hospital. And so being able to recognize those moments and celebrate those victories, I think can keep case managers, moving forward. I think burnout can happen if folks are expecting really big change, like expecting people just to sort of graduate out. Not that we don't have that, because we do, but it is more of just maintaining stability and being able to celebrate those little things.
But would a new graduate with a master's degree coming into this sort of area that you're describing, is there a high demand for that kind of worker? What are the prospects?
Yeah, so case management, so you only need a bachelor's degree to be a case manager. So a bachelor's degree, and then you need a year of experience working with folks with serious and persistent mental illness. So you can come out of a bachelor's program and be qualified if you've worked in a setting with folks with mental health diagnoses. And I would say it's at this point, there is a worker shortage. So it would be very easy to find a job in this field right now.
Where would be a good place to get that 1 year of experience? What kind of setting would provide that?
So a lot of our case managers come from residential type services. They've worked in adult foster cares or different residential treatment settings as sort of a mental health practitioner. We do have a fair amount that come from an ARMS background. If a person comes to case management from a master's program, they don't need that 1 year of experience.
Gotcha.
Having the master's degree would suffice.
Oh, makes sense. Okay, so it sounds like the entry point isn't too full of barriers if people are willing to go give it a try, get a job at a some sort of residential facility and see if they really do want to help. Getting the helping. Okay, and then later, as people progress through their education and their experience, you've talked at length about case management. There's other places people with that kind of qualification could go. In a social work world.
Yes. Yep. So most folks, we have a lot of people that start with case managers with us, and then they move on to get a master's either in social work or another behavioral health field. This job, I think, as a case manager, it exposes you to so many different services within the mental health field, and you get to interact because as a case manager, you're sort of the service coordinator. So you're consulting with people's therapists and you're talking to the hospital social worker in the hospital. We have some interaction with, embedded social workers in the police force. So you're getting to see what that looks like. As part of case management in Minnesota, we follow people that are on civil commitment. And so we're able to see sort of what that civil commitment process looks like and attend court hearings and see what the legal side of that looks like. So as a case manager, you're really getting exposed to anything and everything in the mental health field. In your case, you're a leader. So you're supervising how many folks? Oh boy. Right now, I think 8. We just hired. So So 8. And then I can also provide licensure supervision. So every once in a while, I'll get someone who has their master's degree that's
Yep.
working toward an LICSW, and then I can provide their licensure supervision.
Oh, you're golden. So
Yeah.
you've you've taken your career into another area that maybe people should be aware of is, supervising others and developing and mentoring and coaching others and leading them and being a manager essentially.
Mm-hmm. It's wonderful.
Do
I
you
started
like
as a
that?
case manager. I love it. So I started as a case manager, and then I moved into this role when I became clinically licensed. And it's a really, like, being a clinical supervisor it's really wonderful to be able to teach and coach and sort of help that new generation of social workers figure out what they want to do and where they want to go. I really like helping people with professional development. I still get to have some client contact, which is really nice. Like, I get to fill in on visits every once in a while, which is really great because I don't lose that piece.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that, whether you still get client contact, and if not, do you miss it? But it sounds like that's good little balance there.
It is. It really is.
Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Oh boy.
Sorry.
Maybe still here. I really
Yeah.
love my job. I love the variety. I love, like I said, sort of helping people figure out what they want their next steps to be. I think generally in case management, people stick around maybe 2 to 5 years, because it really is one of those stepping stone roles where you can sort of learn what you want your next step to be. And I really enjoy helping people figure that out. So maybe I'll still be here.
What advice would you give the young Danielle, or maybe just people considering a field like social work? What would you tell them?
I would tell them, give it a chance. I think sometimes social work, it can be misconceived. I think, I myself used to think that social work was only child protection. And so when I really stopped and learned more about it and learned that it is a variety of things that you can do, it really is one of the most broad degrees that you can get. It's really marketable. It really allows you to take multiple paths. And I think that's the other piece is your first job doesn't have to be your forever job.
Yeah.
So you can grow and move into different positions.
It's your first path. Okay, well, thanks very much for your time today. Really appreciate it. And I will I'll end it there, and thanks very much.
Yeah, thanks, Russ.